Change the channel. Doug Walker. Not so awesome. These are all the words that could be seen as the end of an era for internet reviewers. Yet how is it that despite the allegations of abuse, mistreatment, money management, that 5 years later, Doug Walker still has a career, and the majority of the members of Change the Channel have stagnating or even declining careers? Outrage and cancel culture, life ruination, and polarization are good ways to describe the culture of 2018. If there was ever any time in an attempt to destroy someone's career with allegations, 2018 was the ideal time. Movie producer Harvey Weinstein was canceled, and YouTube creator Andy Signori was kicked out of his company and scrubbed from their history. It was a climate where it seemed even a thin allegation was enough to ruin someone. In the public eye, it seemed like a document with over 15 former employees joining hands in allegations that Change the Channel should have destroyed Doug Walker's life. But there would be nothing left to cultivate. The entirety of the internet would have turned their backs on Walker and his supporters, and he would have had become a social pariah. Yet as of the writing in June of 2022, how is it that Doug Walker has weathered the storm? We hope this multi-part video will lay this out for you. When talking about Change the Channel and the not-so-awesome document, we will first need to create a point of reference. These are terms thrown around when talking about the parties involved: employees, members, contributors. Now, how many of you would classify the former members of Channel Awesome as employees? Let's discuss what employment is. There are two main types of employment in the United States, the country where Channel Awesome is based: payroll employees and contract employees. A payroll employee is one that is paid regularly, while the employer handling taxes and other government fees. A contract employee is one where the employee handles their own taxes and fees. Both these types of employment could potentially have agreements with other benefits, like holiday pay and medical insurance. In the case of the Channel Awesome former members, they fit neither of these descriptions. None of the members that produce videos who contributed to the document can qualify as an employee. Until they start producing past regular paychecks, they are not employees. The only four that can qualify as employees or past employees are Malcolm Ray, Rachel Teese, Tamara Chambers, and Holly Christine Brown. Now, if they are not employees, could you qualify the former members as partners or part owners? Part owners or partners would be people that put an equal risk, investment, or stake into the business or website in exchange for controlling interest in the site. None of the members that produce videos who were contributed to the document can qualify as a partner or part owner. Other than making videos that were published on the site, they did not invest any money into the site. Partners and past partners would be Doug Walker, Rob Walker, Mike Michaud, and Mike Ellis. The best word to describe the members that created the document, save for Holly Brown, would be contributors. Picture it this way: Doug Walker has a website that gets a lot of traffic. Contributors like Lindsay Ellis, Spoonie, Angry Joe, or Linkara would create videos and upload them onto the site. The contributors are then paid from ad revenue based on views being from Doug's high-traffic site. If this sounds like a familiar argument, it's because it's like a simplified version of being on YouTube. This is not to say the partners are completely free from liability from the actions of the contributors, but when you look at this relationship at this point of view, the liability both partners have to each other is a lot less than we were led to believe. Let us discuss some for instances. When Spoonie left the site after his Twitter tirade, his relationship as a contributor meant that, while there was no contract, which Obscurus Lupa has brought up in the document, a code of conduct was never established or agreed on. However, any actions by a contributor that could be damaging to the brand of Channel Awesome can bring a certain liability to the contributor. This would be hard to prove in a court of law without being able to accurately calculate damages, but the argument can be made. This handshake-only contributor deal means that there is no protection for contributors. They can be dismissed for any reason or no reason at all. This also means the contributors can leave at a moment's notice, which, obviously, they did with Change the Channel, without legal recourse on either side. But on the other side of that coin, if a contributor was accused of a heinous crime like Justin Carmichael was, said contributors would be removed promptly with the end of liability on both parties at the parting. It is to note that Channel Awesome did not make any legally defamatory statements about Justin at his removal. We need to remember, even with the large amount of claims and circumstantial evidence, no legal conclusion of Justin's guilt was made. Other larger companies put in a similar situation where the person in question was employed, and the evidence, far more flimsy, chose to conduct defamation. What resources of Channel Awesome are contributors owed? Other than the site hosting their videos, none. Some people seem to believe that all the contributors were owed access to Doug's resources, or even Doug himself. This would be akin to setting up a YouTube account and then driving to YouTube headquarters and demand use of their office. So no, Linkara was never owed access or even favorable rates to the Channel Awesome studios. But as we will detail, he had other advantages on the site, advantages that put him in better conditions than 90% of the other side contributors. Now that we have established what a contributor is versus an employee, let us talk about another element of Channel Awesome and how it functions. The update roster. The numbers used in this example are not the actual numbers, but illustrates how the update roster on Channel Awesome worked. Imagine every week there are 8 slots on the front page of Channel Awesome. These 8 slots are highly coveted by the contributors, and there were over 30 contributors at the height of the site. Due to this, you would need to call dibs on a slot weeks, or even months ahead of time. And even then, this was not a guarantee. Several of the more high-traffic contributors produced videos weekly, like Doug Walker, Brad Jones, or Linkara. These people would get preference of slots even despite the queue. Same with popular producers with less regular schedules, like Spoonie. Those would also jump the queue, pushing the number of available slots for smaller contributors to an even smaller number. So in a theoretical 8 slots, only 2 to 3 were actually available for smaller contributors, and it would have to be spoken for months ahead of time. This creates an environment that does not allow smaller contributors to rise up, unless they did copious amounts of crossovers with larger producers. Such a direct and immediate advantage over 90% of the contributors would mean those like Linkara or Brad Jones had a far more stable viewer base and discovery rate, which would be worth more than any other resources offered by Channel Awesome. With all this in mind, we now have the proper lens to view the document. In the opening paragraphs of the document, Not So Awesome, you will see their mission statement, where the architects of the document, Allison, Holly, and Marsgirl, claim that the document was for clearing the air and correcting misconceptions, and not about defamation and destruction. This is strange considering the numerous statements that contributors have made, including Gonzo's statement that he wished for Mike Michaud to be starving and forced to eat rats. Following the introduction is a foreword by Marsgirl, where she attempts to claim that all contributors seek is an apology, both public and private. From what we've heard from Cinematic Venom, a chance to talk privately between the partners and the contributors was offered, but this was summarily rejected. What they wanted was a complete public apology. Due to the nature of some of the allegations, a public apology could be warranted. However, as Marsgirl herself states, we shall draw our own conclusions. What we'll highlight is an actual legitimate complaints. Things that Channel Awesome is responsible for both morally and legally. Things that are unfounded, or without cooperation, will be mentioned, highlighting the lack of cooperation and any inconsistencies from the document itself and any past or future public statements the contributors have made and any digital evidence to the contrary. Part 2. We'll start to go through Allison Pregler's list of complaints.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!